With student government elections upcoming this week, Maroon TV had the opportunity to talk to each of the executive slates. Maroon TV President Alex Sotiropoulos met with representatives from UChicago's Ignite Slate.
Join with me today are members of Ignite Slate, Yusuf El-Jirani, Anthony Martinez, and Ezgi Chibukchu. And thank you first off for coming here and talking to us today. We really appreciate it. And just getting right into the meat and potatoes of the interview, what do you believe is the most important policy that you want to enact as a slate?
So I think like our philosophy, just based on our engagement over the past couple of years with different student groups on campus, from graduate student groups to community service RSOs, and really everything in between, we found that student groups and RSOs really lie at the heart of student life. And because of that, that really informed the primary component of our platform, which is increased collaboration and communication with those student groups. So what do I mean by that? I mean making a weekly commitment to host RSO roundtables, to discuss with student groups the variety of resources they have available to them through student government, to work with them on initiatives that they're passionate about. So that in itself opens up a lot of opportunities, right? To sit in a room with them and discuss issues ranging from meeting with sports RSOs to talk about hosting a big social at the next big sports game, or meeting with the Clothesline Project and RSVP to talk about the university's sexual assault policies, coming up with a comprehensive set of recommendations and proposals to bring to the administration and really push for that. Awareness campaigns. There's a variety of things that open up because of this model that we have, and I think that that's really the core of what Ignite is about.
A lot of students around the university don't really know too much about student government and what it entails. So can you tell us, each of you, what your specific roles are and what do you feel they entail and what's most important about them?
Yeah, so I mean the presidential role, right? That's like sort of creating the pathway that student government needs to be put on and drive toward. And so that's what we have with our vision here with this increased collaboration model, which is really making sure that each of our representatives, that each of our committees, and that student groups understand that this is a student government by students for students, and that's sort of really what my responsibility would be, right? It's largely organizational, managing our big events, from holding forums to making sure that students, that our representatives are meeting with the appropriate student groups, that these roundtables are getting organized, these events are going smoothly, and that's really what I view as my responsibility. But I think the primary thing is making sure that that philosophy, that this is a student government that's not a top to bottom approach of just transmitting information that we get from the administration, but it's really sort of a grassroots understanding of student issues and student needs, and really working with them, alongside them, to push for those. And it can be anything from, like I said, something fun like socials to something more serious like looking at the health policies that we have on campus and counseling services.
The vice presidential position of student affairs has a relatively broad role at the university. Not only would I be overseeing a variety of councils like Corso, which is the Council of Recognized Student Organizations, but I would also be providing logistical support to a variety of services that student government already offers, like the airport shuttles. The Vice President of Student Affairs is also the position that's going to be interacting mostly with the student body to get a better understanding of undergraduate and graduate life, so that we can expand access to more services for students and the student body in general.
The Vice President for Administration position entails looking over the different funding bodies of student government, such as the Student Government Finance Committee, annual allocations, and the Uncommon Fund, which all oversee the allocation of the student life fee. This is very important because every student on campus, including graduate students, pays into this fee with tuition, and overseeing where that money gets put is very important to everyone on campus. So not only would my role entail looking over the different bodies, but also seeing if there's an increase in the student life fee or an increase in that pool of money, where that money should go. Is it more important to put it in the community service fund, or is it more important to give it to annual allocations? And that's very important. In addition to that, this position also oversees the administrative side of the student government body and the funding that we have internally. So looking over how much our own personal budget is and how to distribute that evenly and as well as possible.
So you've all had experience in student government. So what do you believe that some of your successes or initiatives that have worked out well have been in the past?
Yeah, so this year I was the current vice president for student affairs, and I really think that we had a lot of major accomplishments. A lot of them organizational, but I think a lot of them also pretty flashy and pretty substantive for student life. So, what do I mean by organizational? I mean like increased outreach. I think that the fact that we have four slates running this year, I think is pretty incredible. I think the fact that we've rapidly and drastically increased our outreach via social media sites, and that's something that ESGI's been working on a lot this year, I think is incredible. We redid the student government site, really encouraged our members to post blog posts, make sure that all their information and their contact information is up there. I mean, this is really basic stuff that should have been done a long time ago, but it wasn't. And I view that as something I'm really proud of. In addition, I started a program like Cafe Careers, which was meant to connect graduate students and undergraduate students, increase mentorship opportunities between them to create lasting impact on students. I worked with the current VP for administration to sort of gather more information about these big funding bodies on campus and to work on a proposal that would recommend a more need-based understanding of how money is allocated to these groups. And those are just like a few of the accomplishments that we've had this year. We opened up the administration a lot more, so we had Nim Chania come up in front of students, take the tough questions, really give students deep insight into university finances. We set up a meeting with Mark Schmidt for this quarter, so it's really just increasing access, and those are successes that I want to build on next year. Anthony?
So Ezgi and I have both sat on the Student Government Finance Committee over the last year, and I think together we've worked really hard to streamline a lot of the funding processes that the funding agency goes through. For example, we've worked really hard to set precedents to make sure that there's fair funding for all student organizations. We've also worked with the chair of SGFC to streamline the audit procedure so that we're auditing the right groups and the groups that need to be audited to ensure that funding isn't being misallocated.
Along the lines of that, with Student Government Finance Committee, I've been meeting with different members of RSOs who actually have questions about how to get funding with student government. And this is very important to carry on through the future, because ultimately we do want to give money to RSOs, and when they come to SGFC or the other funding bodies, we don't want to seem like we're not trying to give them money. We want to give them as much money as possible. So in the future, we would hope to continue this practice of meeting with RSO leaders who do ask and seek that support and ask for that help. In addition to that, I sit on CDAP, which is the Campus Dining Advisory Board. So I've been working very closely with the Director of Campus Dining and different people in the Housing Office in order to see what future things could be done with BartMart, and in addition to fixing things like the meal exchange program and different issues such as Kathy and Bartlett Dining Commons, cleanliness and health standards issues that have come up throughout the year. I do feel like we've made a lot of progress, but more progress could obviously be made.
And just really quick to wrap that up. So we're talking about progress and past successes, but I think the fact that like each of us has at least a year, and I have 2 sitting on student government, allows us to really streamline and hop over any sort of learning curve that might be in other candidates' ways. So I think that allows us to really focus on what we have on our platform, and I think that's why it's so comprehensive, and it's something that we're really pushing for, because we will be able to enact a lot of these changes that we're proposing simply because we do have the experience, we do understand how funding bodies work, we do understand how student government works, we understand the culture of student government and how to change it, and I think that's very key in terms of what we're trying to do.
So the final question I had is that some of these, especially another slate, UChicago has some experience as well with them. So I wanted to know how your experience specifically, being in an executive slate, such a, high position in student government, how that gives you a bigger edge than, let's say, other people that are running and do have experience.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So I think like being in the position that I was, it's just increased interaction with administrators. And in addition to that, it's also increased interaction with the graduate side of student government. And I think that's key here, because in the past, there hasn't been a lot of collaboration between graduate students and undergraduate students within student government. And I got to see sort of the organizational side of student government, the way the graduate side works, the way the undergraduate side works, what are the deficiencies. And I think that I wouldn't really have gotten a sense of that because I sat on college council last year without being in the position that I am today as a vice president. I've worked with a variety of different administrators, and you really get a sense that these are individuals, and it's hard to just pinpoint all of them together as the administration. I think that they're willing to work with students to varying degrees, and I think that that's important to understand and to build on the relationships that I've created this year with a lot of these people to continue to push for more transparency, more accountability, and more access for students.
Finally, is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't covered?
I guess I believe that our slate has a unique position because we've had a lot of experience working with graduate students. We really understand a lot of the ways that graduate students interact with student government and the challenges that often creates for us. I believe that because we have that unique position over the other slates, we can provide a more comprehensive package to the entire university, since so many of us are graduate students. You know, I'm a graduate student, and graduate students outnumber undergrads 2 to 1. And because of that, there should be more services for graduate students, but I believe that our slate has worked really hard to expand services for the entire student body, not just undergrads, both undergrad and graduates.
Mm-hmm.
Great, really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And thank
thanks
you
for
very
having
much for
us.
the interview.
Yeah, thank you.